All right, you guys, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. And before we get into the Red Balloons Economist 2026 cover, and before we get into Huggy Bear Gate, Erika Kirk, and Trump in the Epstein files, I want to do a follow-up on the Land of Oz Matrix from a couple days ago. And I can't even believe what I found. Pretty insane. After the show the other day, the Oz Matrix exploded, and we discovered all of these connections to the word Oz and its reverse, Z-O. And you guys flooded the comment sections with all kinds of Oz connections that confirmed what we found, so good job. Let's go through some of those connections, and then we'll get into the rest of the show today. Probably the most prominent connection that one of you made was Zorro Ranch. Of course, Jeffrey Epstein. Oz confirmed. Z-O-O-Z. Now we know the secret to the name of the Zorro Ranch. It's all about the land of Oz. And probably something has to do with these experiments they were doing with in vitro fertilization, IVF, and Jeffrey Epstein trying to start a new master race by basically trafficking these girls, and who knows what else was going on. All the emphasis has now been on the island, but really everything was happening over here. Some other connections that you guys made about the land of sleep, the land of Oz, the poppy fields, the land of dreams, was Zoloft. Yes, Zoloft. Puts your brain to sleep. The land of Oz, which is an antidepressant, and of course, Prozac also has the land of Oz in it as well. Great connections, you guys. Also putting your brain to sleep. What else did you guys find? Well, Don, of course, the Donald, would be the opposite of nodding off to sleep. D-O-N-N-O-D, nodding off to sleep. And of course, that's what Trump's been doing recently, nodding off to sleep. All this has to be some kind of MAGA magic. It's the only thing I can think of, because he's never done this before. This is the first time, and it all coincided with these fainting spells and Dr. Oz and Oz Empic. You guys, this information should be front page news. These connections on a spiritual level are just out of this world. Now, there's another Oz connection that I couldn't even believe. This guy, Zoran Mamdani, of course, another Zo, Oz backwards, just elected to the mayor of New York. And you're not even going to believe this. His birthday is No King's Day. Here it is, October 18, 2025. No King's Day. Unbelievable. Another false paradigm has arisen. The land of Oz. Now, what's this guy running on? What did he run on? Basically, full-blown Democrat agenda. And remember, if you're in the right-left paradigm and you believe one side or the other, you've already been deceived. Now, this guy's 34 years old. That doesn't probably mean anything, but let's get into some other Oz connections before we get into the rest of the show today. Osmium. This is an element. Osmium. And we found something else. Are you ready for this? Osmium. Named so after the Greek word osmi. What does that mean? Well, let's look it up. A smell. Because of the chlorine-like and slightly garlic-like smell of the volatile osmium tetroxide. A smell. Osmium. Could this be the unclean spirits? Wow. And a couple more connections. There was also a Zoltar in the animated TV series Battle of the Planets. Now, I remember this TV series because this was one of my favorite early animation TV series before school. I don't know if it was before school or after school. And there was a character named Zoltar. There was also a Phoenix. Their spaceship was called the Phoenix rising up from the ashes. But the thing about Zoltar was he was the nemesis. The most prominent field commander of the Spectra forces was a villainous, masked individual known as Zoltar. Zoltar would receive his orders directly from a being he would refer to as the Luminous One. The Luminous One would appear as a ghost-like disembodied floating head. While the Luminous One's origins were not explained on the show, it is clear he is the ruler of Spectra and its invading armies. Wow. So, there you go. The Land of Oz confirmed. Now, let me check in with you guys, and then we'll get into this Economist cover, because it contains aspects of a discovery that we made about 8 years ago. The red balloons. And what we found were that the red balloons represented virus, death, and disease, as well as something replicating out of control. That's what we found the red balloons represented. We also realized that the red balloons represented death because they're filled with helium, which is the byproduct of methane, the gas of death. In fact, when they mine methane out of the ground, that's where they find helium with it. And this is why the It Clown says, "You'll float too." Why? Because it's the gases of death. And this is why the It Clown lived in the sewers underneath Derry. I know they have a reboot or a prequel of the It Pennywise that's playing right now. I've watched a couple of the episodes where there's not too much to report yet. It's just in it. I would not recommend watching that. It is off the chain horror. So do not watch that. You don't want those images in your head. But essentially, they're doubling down on all this. The gases of death, the unclean spirits from the pit. It's all coming full circle, you guys. Everything we've been talking about is happening. Now, let's go. Let me check in with you guys, and we'll go to the Economist cover. It is shocking. I guarantee you, the rendition you're going to get today, you will have not heard anywhere else, because I didn't look at anyone else's decodes to look at this. I always like to look at these things with fresh eyes. So you're going to hear and see things that you're not hearing other places. Let me check in with you guys, and we'll get into it. Good morning. Make sure you guys are with us. We are live. It is November 13th, 2025. Okay, let's get started, you guys. Hopefully this loads up here. Okay, here is the Economist cover. Let's fix this. And let's break down these elements. We're going to start from the outside looking in. I think is probably the best way to look at this. And it appears as though the entire world is a soccer ball being kicked by this character down in the bottom right corner. You see the action lines. And then when you look at the globe, you can see the pattern of the soccer ball underneath. And here is the bombshell. About 10 years ago, we discovered that the pattern on the soccer ball is the adrenochrome molecule. Yes, the pattern on the soccer ball is the adrenochrome molecule, and they all knew this. Let's pull that up. I didn't have this on my show notes, but let's pull it up. Now, we found this pattern hidden in many children's movies. The soccer ball pattern. The soccer ball was underneath the bed in Monsters, Inc., the scare floor, because that's where the spirits live. The demons that scare the children are under the bed, right? And so there was a soccer ball hidden under the bed. It's the adrenochrome molecule. And then we found the Easter egg soccer ball everywhere, didn't we? Found it in all these strange places. You're going to see it tomorrow, too, in the movie Big. We're going to be decoding the movie Big tomorrow. And right after Tom Hanks undergoes his transformation from the land of Oz, after he visits Zoltar, which is Oz backwards, he goes to sleep. He wakes up, and there's a soccer ball right behind him as he's transformed. We're going to break all that down tomorrow, but all of this is about MK Ultra mind control. It's about the twinning. It's about scaring, releasing all of this stuff, these chemicals, and then harvesting it. There is the soccer ball pattern. It's a hexagon with a pentagon. And that is what they were getting at here. Let's go back here to this here. Oh, here it is. So now that I have your attention, now you can understand that what they're really showing us here is that the entire world economies are based off of the adrenochrome. I hope you're understanding that, and I hope you're awake. It's the very foundation of the entire world. It is worth more than gold to these people, and that is the big secret. Now, how do we know that this is the case? Well, this goes all the way back to the Bible, doesn't it? Human sacrifice, Molech. Do not give your children to Molech in the fire, was the command. So, let's keep going now that we've established the very core of all of this, because next, I see what appears to be ice around various parts of the edge of this globe. There's an ice cube there. There's another one here. What could that represent? Well, let's get you guys involved in this decode, because I'm just going to tell you what this means. What could ice around the edge of this lower part, what could that represent? Let's go back into the chat. Get you guys involved. And I promise not to make you wait too long, but let's give it at least 30 seconds for someone to figure out what the ice around melting ice walls. Yes, Jason says. Yes, I'm thinking it's the Arctic, or the Antarctic ring around what I believe is the Earth. The ice wall. Yes, Vic, thank you. Let's keep going. Let's get this going here. Now that we've established that, you could also make the connection of the FIFA World Cup, which was given to Trump. They're also going to award him the Peace Prize, their own Peace Prize, since Trump didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. And this suggests that the FIFA is much, much more than we can imagine in terms of what we just discussed about adrenochrome and trafficking. Then we see satellites all around, satellites everywhere, all around here, and the weaponization of space. You've got a guy with a rocket launcher, you've got tanks, you have missiles, you have missiles. Sorry, you guys. You know what? We're going to do this. This will be easier because this page is driving me insane. Okay, this is better. You've got tanks. You've got tanks. It's the weaponization of space. Notice how everything is pointed to space. Satellites. You've got tethered drones. You've got flying drones. You've got phallic rockets. Okay. That's Jeff Bezos. We decoded that. So this is what we're looking at, the weaponization of space. You've got these robots all around here. There's a red robot there. Robots, bombs, missiles, space. Now, as you guys know, most of you know, I went fishing in San Simeon, which is not too close to Vandenberg Air Force Base. Yet, being out on the edge of the water all day long and into the night, because we did like a fishing bonanza. We were there most of the day, outside a lot. Something strange happened. Can you guess what? Can you guess what happened over the 3 days that I was fishing way out in the remote coast of California? Can you imagine what I heard in the sky? Let's see who gets the answer, and then we'll move on from that and continue to decode all of this. You probably also noticed the world was engulfed in medications and pills as the world is completely asleep. What do you think I heard frequently as I was out on a remote part of the coast where almost nobody lives? There were rockets flying. It felt like every few hours they were launching rockets out of Vandenberg Air Force Base. And I asked my friend Mark that I was with, I said, dude, what is that sound? And he's like, oh, you didn't know? It's a thing. Vandenberg is launching rockets every few hours. I was like, whoa. Now, I'd lived in this area and I'd heard rockets from time to time, way back when I started this YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, in 2012, I was noticing some rocket launches. I might have even mentioned it on a couple shows that I heard this loud grumbling sound. And I think a couple of you said, oh, those are rocket launches, Casey. And I was like, whoa, I think I heard some sonic booms and stuff like that. That was 13 years ago. But it only happened twice in a 4-year period, 2 to 5 times maybe in a 4-year period that I lived in that location where I started this YouTube channel. And lo and behold, now they are launching rockets several times a day now. Imagine what the sky looks like. It probably looks like this. This is our world now, in plain sight. Let's zoom in on this. The whole world engulfed in medications. Look at all the pills. Gosh, this image is a little bit more blurry. Let's go back to this one. Sorry, you guys. Medications, pills. Look at all the pills. They've got everyone asleep. Injections. We're the needle nation. Remember when I told you that hypodermic needles are a metaphor for a payload that is in a rocket? Remember those discussions? Casey, that's a stretch. It's a hollow fuselage with a payload. Snakes on a plane. Something inside the rockets. Delivering something. Remember a blue origin? The origin of what? The blue rocket carrying a blue origin, a blue seed, a phallic rocket nonetheless. Now you're seeing that none of this is a stretch. It's all being depicted right here. A phallic rocket. Rockets are payloads, are syringes. It's all the same thing. Now, what else is going on? Let's move on. Freedom is handcuffed. With this fist handcuffed, they've finally handcuffed freedom. On the 250th anniversary of our country, of the United States of America, they finally were able to do it. How? They do it through algorithms now. Freedom has been handcuffed. They've got young people's brains tethered to video games. Here's the brain tethered to a video game controller. And look at this. No vote. There's an X on the ballot. There's no vote. Or people vote for nothing. I've been telling you guys, what's the use in voting? Both sides are the same. They just keep handing the football back and forth. Now they've got rich oligarchs running the world. And look at all the money flowing around. Notice how the money is blank. The money is blank because it means nothing. It has no value. They're blank checks, aren't they? They're blank checks. And it's all floating around the center here. It's floating, the blank checks floating around the ballot box. It also means nothing. The judicial system means nothing. You see, the gavel means nothing. The money means nothing. It's all empty. Wow. What else? Well, remember I told you Amazon's working on having packages delivered by robots now? Well, here you go. Amazon robot package delivery. This is the Economist cover 2026. If you're just tuning in, we're breaking all the elements down on this. We're going to go down in very high detail. Pretty much every element of this we're going to discuss today. And then down here, we have the Olympics, don't we? All of these sports going on here. There's a javelin, there's slalom skiing, boxing, track. And that's all down here at the bottom. Let's go back up here. Here is a weaponized container ship. Maybe fighting off pirates. Who knows? And you have to wonder what this is about. Weaponized container ships. And here are the world leaders. And they're all surrounding the market as the market crashes. So they seem to be controlling the crash of the market. From left to right is obviously Bibi Netanyahu, Putin, Xi Jinping. Then Trump on the other side of the market graph, right? And Prime Minister Modi from India. I don't know who this woman is, but one of you probably knows. And please chime in the chat and let me know who this woman is here. She looks like a blonde-haired woman with somewhat long hair. Also depicted as some kind of world leader. Now, what else is going on? Well, the cake obviously is the 250th year anniversary of the United States. And as you can see, these crossed swords represent battle and violence. And it's over the world economy. So, the world economy and war are interlinked. That's what this says. And look at what we have here. Gosh, this is just sick. The video game controller literally wraps around the sword. It is the source from which they harvest the demand for war. It's harvested through children on video games because they can operate drones now very efficiently. It's basically drone training. Unbelievable. All of it right here in our faces. What a trip, you guys. Now, one part that pretty much covers most of this. One part I could not decode, and maybe one of you guys can help me. Oh, by the way, robot dogs all over this. Robot dogs. There's one. I think there's another one. There's another one right here. That's 3 robot dogs. So that's going to be in our future. Here's a submarine. So we have that. Okay. More weaponization and normalizing all these things. So expect more robot dogs. And one thing I could not identify was this ship. This was the only part of the cover that I could not identify was this ship. And the men on it with some kind of baskets that they're holding. Now this pattern that's on the ship is called key. Key. and it's Greek. It's called Greek Key. So this might be a Greek ship, maybe. Greek Key. And what it looks like is an undulating serpent is what it is. One continuous line is the Greek Key. So I don't know what else that could mean. But maybe some of you can chime in the chat. And I'll go into the chat so we can kind of finish up this discussion about the Economist cover. But that pretty much sums up the entire cover. Every single element accounted for except that ship. Let me go back into the chat. And if there were any people trolling today, please call them out so I can block them now that I'm back in the chat. And then we'll get into some of these other headlines today. What else is going on in the world? We're going to talk about Trump's pardon spree with possibly Ghislaine Maxwell in the crosshairs, and some other things. We're, of course, going to talk about also the Epstein files and the new revelations about Trump appearing in them and trying to block them and things like that. And, of course, Erika Kirk, Huggy Bear Gate. Okay, Phoenicia, let's see. Ancient Greeks appeared from the past through a time portal, says Jason. Phoenician ties right back to Phoenix, Phoenix rising. Roman equals British government. Italian gondola. Okay, let's see here. This is the boat scene from iPad Go. Kind of, but different. But yeah, you could make a connection there to iPad Go 2. Looks similar. USA is 250 years old this year. Yes, we're at the 250-year anniversary of the country. Yes, the ship in iPad Go 2. Let's see here. The Greek and their great balls of fire, says Sue. What is in the containers? Yeah. Oh, Greek balls of fire technology. Let's see here. Greek fire. Venezuelan fishing boat. No, it's not. It looks Greek or maybe something else. Phoenician. Lady in red is Erika Kirk. Oh boy. Whoa. I think you might be right, Araceli. That might be Erika Kirk. Yes. Whoa. So she's gonna rise to leadership. That's interesting. Okay, let's see here. Greek fire. Okay, let's look up Greek fire. Greek balls of fire. You could be right. Let's see. Incendiary weapon. Let's look at some images here. There you go. I think you guys are right. Greek balls of fire. Here it is. Could be what's in these, these vessels here. Wow. Could be. Here's another image here. Oh boy. You guys are smart. Wow. Let's see what else is going on here. It could be it. So there's a possible explanation for the men on the boat. Okay, I'm back in the chat. My goodness. Oh, so Erika Kirk could be the new president. Except 2026 is not an election year. So, container ship is inflation and tariffs. Thanks. Boat is Dagon. Okay. No, the lady in red is the Prime Minister of Italy. Okay, let me see. Prime Minister of Italy. Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go. So, apparently Italy is going to be on the world stage. Yeah, that could be her. Yeah. But you never know. It could be Erika Kirk, too. We don't know, right? So, thanks for that. Greece's shipping companies still dominate Europe's sea transport. Okay. Viking ship. Yeah, those didn't look like Vikings, though. But thanks, Cynthia. The woman in Bridget Macron. I think it's the Italian Prime Minister. That seems like the best bet there on that. All right, so let's get into what else is going on in the world now that we're done with the Economist cover. So Trump is on a pardoning spree, and he pardons Giuliani and others who allegedly tried to overturn the 2020 election. And what I think is that we are Ghislaine Maxwell will probably be next, but he's got to be careful how he does this. Let's watch this here.
Some of his co-defendants indicted in connection with an alleged scheme to interfere with the 2020 presidential election. Just a couple of names on that pardon list. Well, you recognize all of them, but two specifically, Rudy Giuliani and the president's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows. So let's talk about this. Going live to CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane for us on a Monday in Washington. Scott, these pardons only apply to federal charges, not the state charges. So what's the impact here?
Hey, Reed, this is a big statement without a big practical impact. This list of names may seem somewhat familiar to you because these were the names that were associated with efforts to overturn the 20.
Okay, so we already know that, but, I never understood presidential pardons. The only way that I feel like a presidential pardon should apply is if the laws have changed in a way to where, maybe they don't prosecute things the way they used to, or the laws changed. I would see, a pardon being appropriate in that case, or a very controversial, case that was hotly debated. I could see a pardon in that case, but just to pardon straight up criminals should not be allowed in this country. It just shouldn't. It's a bad look. It's corruption and not good. Now, of course, let's move on. Front page news. Ghislaine Maxwell plans to ask Trump to commute the sentence. So this is coming. And, of course, the Epstein email release in the past 48 hours. More Trump Epstein files, which seem to debunk Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony about Trump that she just gave, that made Trump look good. And then she was rewarded by being put into a cush prison. And because remember, she originally said, Trump and Epstein barely knew each other. So these new files debunk that because they were totally talking about Trump and what he knew and everything else. Now, this is a whole gobbledygook sandwich, so I'm not going to go into detail with this and spend a whole lot of time on this latest release of some of the emails between Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein in which they talk about Trump. But let me give you the takeaway from all this. How did a lowly towel girl who worked in the gym get all of this personal time with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein? That is the smoking gun. Trump, with all of his ego, would not take the time to hang out with his towel girl and Epstein unless there was something else to this. Well, of course, we're talking about Virginia Giuffre. Now, I never believed Virginia Giuffre's defense of Trump because the giveaway is that she even had a relationship to any degree with him. That's the giveaway. She was a towel girl. Now, it'd be different if she was a front office manager or an executive at Mar-a-Lago, but she was a towel girl. So the fact that she even knew Trump on a personal level is the giveaway. Why was he hanging out and talking to and getting to know and getting cozy with a towel girl? Think about it. It never came off right, in fact, that she defended Trump. Given the fact that we already know that Trump was a sleazeball back then, she said he was never inappropriate. Well, that's like saying jumbo shrimp, right? Of course, he was probably said inappropriate comments to her. So the fact that she never even said that and made it sound like he was a saint, that's the giveaway. Now, what do I think happened? I think that she made a deal with Trump not to talk because maybe he didn't abuse her, right? But of course, there was a bad look, and he probably said to her, hey, look, I know that I said some really inappropriate things in the past, but if you just keep me out of this, here's like $6 million. And just, keep it quiet. And she probably said, you know what? Yeah, you never groped me or grabbed me, so, but you just said some weird stuff to me, and I'll keep you out of it. That's probably how all this went down. And this is why she let Trump off the hook in her book. And here's the problem with these cases and the victims. where things get murky, because deals are made behind the scenes in which people are paid off. I never, ever, ever understood secret deals where people are paid off. That should not be allowed in our judicial system. Everything should be public if someone's paid off, so that we know the incentive for a person's testimony. If with these payoffs, there's always an incentive for someone to lie. And so if you don't know the context of the payoff versus the person's testimony, you'll never understand the truth. So here's the problem with all of this. Now, the rest of the revelations in this just read like a soap opera, pretty much, with he said, she said. Nothing that definitively implicates Trump. Definitively. But the proof, I feel like, is also in the actions of the Trump administration. What am I talking about? Well, he's been putting a lot of pressure on one particular Republican to try to turn her so that they can get the votes to not release the Epstein files. Why would he be meeting with Boebert, or however you pronounce her name, to try to sway her against releasing the files?
Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released some of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's emails referencing President Trump. In a 2011 email, Epstein referred to Donald Trump as the, quote, dog that hasn't barked, and told his former companion, Ghislaine Maxwell, that an alleged victim had spent hours at his house with Trump. The head Democrat on the committee says the emails raised questions about a White House cover-up of the Epstein files. But Republicans in the White House say Democrats are trying to create a fake narrative to slander the president. Trump has denied any wrongdoing and any knowledge of Epstein's crimes.
Now, as you just heard in the emails, they refer to Trump as the dog that hasn't barked, which suggests that he either knew something that he wasn't talking about, and right there, that's grounds for impeachment right there. Like, dude, whatever you know, you need to tell us. And the worst case scenario is that he was involved in something that he's not telling us. So either one of those scenarios is a bad look for Trump and borderline impeachable, because it appears as though he is compromised. And now they're putting pressure on Boebert to turn her vote so that they can have the files blocked. Wow. Now, let's hop off of all that drama and get into Huggy Bear Gate. What am I talking about? Well, Erika Kirk now has a pattern of essentially groping married men. Think about this. Let's watch this video. If this was a man doing this to a woman, people would be all over this, right? Now, how do I explain this? The comparison would be putting a man putting his hands on a woman's hips who's married, right? That would be the comparison to what you're going to see next. Now, people can say that she's a grieving widow, and maybe she's just not in her right mind, but now this has become a pattern. First with J.D. Vance, and now Jason Aldean, the country music singer. Let's take a look. Oh, and take a look at Jason Aldean's wife's face as she goes unglued, as she sees Jason Aldean falling under the spell of Erika Kirk. Look at the dress, the emerald, the land of Oz. I mean, this is crazy. Groper Gate, right? I mean, this is insane, you guys. So, this is all about perception, right? Some people are like, Casey, you're barking up the wrong tree. There's a pattern here of borderline inappropriate affection and a spell, and I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I think we need some comedy relief at this point. Because you have to be a third grader to believe this 1980s technology picture of Diddy in prison. Let's take a look. You have to be kidding me. So this now passes as evidence that Diddy is in prison. This is one of the first images we've seen of him with the 1980s camera. I mean, what was this taken with a Polaroid? What, they don't have digital cameras? Now, they do this on purpose so you can't zoom in, so you can't find identifying marks on, the face, like a scar or, a freckle. This is why they give us these fuzzy images, and literally you have to be in third grade to believe this. They call it an aging Diddy. Let's read this. Unbelievable. I can't even believe this. Okay. Diddy's aged look seen in official mugshot after grueling criminal case took a toll on the rapper. All right, let's read here. A mugshot of Sean Diddy Combs has finally emerged, revealing how much the rapper's look has been impacted by his criminal case and sentence for prostitution offenses. The disgraced rapper is serving time at FCI Fort Dix and has courted controversy since his arrival at the facility. Sean Diddy Combs is currently also appealing his case and recently won a motion to get the appeal fast-tracked. How the rapper appeared in the prison mugshot is a mystery because we used a Polaroid camera from the 1980s to obtain this photo. A photo of a photo of a photo's photo is how we obtain this footage, which is why it's blurry, and you should believe that because you're in third grade. Diddy's trial and his time behind bars since his arrest on September 16, 2024, have definitively taken a toll on his appearance. And this is why we don't allow cameras in the courtroom, so we can cover up crimes and pretend like people are in jail when they're really not. I mean, so that we can maintain the integrity of our judicial system. Okay, I'll stop. Wow, right? You can't make this up, you guys. You can't make it up if you even tried. And guess what? The new normal is, ready for this one? I'll put links to all these stories, you guys. The new normal is the Chinese invasion. Because Trump says this is what we need. Trump defends a plan to bring in hundreds of thousands of Chinese students. I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else. Remember he told us, I could do
this idea of hundreds of
I could do anything and they'll still love me. Well, here he is, the Fox News sellouts, and he's going to try to justify to us why we should have hundreds of thousands of Chinese students. You guys, this is a takeover.
Thrilled about this idea of hundreds of thousands of foreign students in the United States. We have about 350,000 Chinese. One point during COVID, you were going to, push to, get them out, but that was pulled back. You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids want to go to school and there are places not for them and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money?
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have.
I can't even listen to this. I can't. Now, I lived in Connecticut for several years. I used to drive by Yale pretty frequently. And I couldn't believe how many Chinese Yale students there were. You guys, they're setting this up for China to be involved in our government. Why else would they send them to Yale?
China and other countries.
Wait. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. Demographics, Yale University. Many of you remember the walk-on video we did we went to the Skull and Bones building on Yale campus. It was during the lockdowns. It was pretty gutsy. I got camera footage of that. That's on the channel here under the videos section. And we did a walk around, saw the cameras and everything. But let's see, demographic. Chinese. Let's just to see what the demographic is of Yale. How many Chinese students? Okay, it says about 1,000 students. Chinese students. at Yale University. Now, look, don't fall into the right-left paradigm. I have nothing against Chinese people, right? I love all races and cultures. But we are a Christian nation, so if you start bringing in lots of people from other religions and belief systems, that will ultimately affect the core belief systems of our country, okay? Now, I'm not saying that all Chinese people are not Christians. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, look at this Asian student demographic. So it has dropped from 30% to 24% of the undergraduate class. Whoa, 30% of Yale students are Asian, way beyond the national average. But they say it's dropped. Holy smoke. So our suspicions are correct. That was just from observation, and now it's confirmed in the statistics. But let's keep going. Let's see what he has to say.
We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
Well, I think that's a big deal.
Are they fans,
you would have the
fans of the United States?
Yeah, but you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges and universities would go down the tubes.
So we're dependent on China to keep our university system going?
But I think it's good to have, I actually think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world.
So he just told you he was a globalist right there. He said it's good to have outside countries coming in. This is why he sold America out. This is why he did a $1 trillion deal with Saudi Arabia to build data centers in the United States. This is why he's welcoming all these foreign investors, which will essentially change the face of what it means to be an American.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yeah.
I mean, really? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm not so sure. We've had a lot of problems with the French, where we get taxed very unfairly on our technology.
Yeah. So it's all right-left paradigm. Notice how he just keeps volleying the ball. Unbelievable. No, but Trump has the answer. He has the solution to the home mortgage crisis. Let's do 50-year mortgages. Warp speed, ludicrous speed, ridiculous speed. You can't make this up. You guys, welcome to Clown World. The 50-year mortgage. Wow. So the answer is, how are you going to live? Well, let's just put you into a life debt now, with higher risk than ever to be able to sustain a high monthly payment without losing your home due to health, due to a lost job, due to a natural disaster, due to divorce. And when you stack up all those odds, it spells probably a 90% chance of you losing your investment over the course of the loan. Now, it's great if the market is in the right position when you need to sell the home, if you run into a natural disaster, a job, health problems, divorce, or your health, right? But if it's the wrong time for the market, then you're screwed. You lose your investment. It goes right back to the bank, and this is what they're banking on, and I can imagine the odds are probably 90% with all of that risk that you carry. You carry it. The odds are against you. You have to keep making that payment. Nobody's going to help you. Nobody cares. Your employer doesn't care. There are no guarantees that your employer isn't going to fire you. There's no guarantees. There's no market guarantees. So this is the world now, you guys. This is the world now. Tomorrow, I redecoded the movie Big with Tom Hanks through the eyes of the fortune-telling machine Zoltar. That's how Tom Hanks became big. He started out as a boy named Joshua and became big after he consulted Zoltar, the fortune-telling machine at the carnival, and confirmed Zoltar is the land of Oz, the land of sleep. Why? Because Tom Hanks goes to sleep, and when he wakes up, he's a boy, or he's a man. Now, what else I found? I'm about a quarter of the way through the movie, so I'm going to work on decoding the rest of the movie for the rest of the day. I'll have to be editing. Tomorrow's going to be a good show, but it's going to require a lot of work, but I'm going to power through it. It's a long movie. It's over 2 hours long. I also found straight up 9/11 predictive programming. Straight up. Wow. Can't wait to break that down for you guys. Okay, I'm in the chat for a little bit. We'll do a little Q&A. If you guys want to do some polls or something like that, we can do that as well. Good morning. All right. We can buy mortgage insurance. There's another way out of that. It's called mortgage insurance, says Max. Okay, thanks, Max. Rip Van Winkle. Whoops. Sorry about that. Thanks, Kendra. All right, let's see here. Apple Digital ID. Polls, please. What kind of poll would you guys like to do? I was watching something. Think they said the East Wing is straight across from China? Huh. Okay. Oh, Angel says in the movie Big, he was with an older woman. Yeah, all kinds of references. You'll remember the milk carton. Remember he was on the milk carton as a missing child? Well, here's a little clue for tomorrow. On the milk carton, the date he went missing was 9/12, September 12th, the day after 9/11, 1987, which was actually the exact halfway point between the opening of the towers and the demolition of the towers. Can't make this up, you guys. That's a little clue for tomorrow, little teaser. And I'll show all that to you tomorrow. Okay, put your homes in a trust, keep the hospitals away from stealing it away. Brought all the immigrants into the country, put them on welfare now. Your welfare check will require digital identification, says Sheldon. Yep, they created the problem and they're creating the solution. Yeah, I'll show you the Transformer skyscraper robot. And remember, SciArt Box, they, in that instant, the guy is giving a presentation and he says they're between the ages of 9 and 11. So right there, they tell you right there as he's holding a building. And this was in 1988, long before it happened. So I'll show you those clips tomorrow. Now I remember decoding Big, but I had to remove it because anything Tom Hanks was being your channel, people, they were taking down channels based on that. Well, we're just going to do it a different way, okay? Who was on the milk carton? It was Joshua. It was Tom Hanks was on the milk carton. Because remember, his mother thought he was missing, so they put him on the milk carton. And I'll also break down what the missing children on the milk carton actually truly meant. There's actually a spiritual reason why they did that. And I'll break all that down tomorrow. All right. Well, we've been on here about an hour. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Got to get to work here. Okay. All right. Saw Toy Story 5, supposed to come out in January. Yes, well, look at that. They hid the word Molech. Whoa, see? Now you see the back end. This is why I show you guys the back end, so you could see what gets screened out. Dale just simply wrote the word Molech, and the algorithm screened it out. I had to literally go in and approve it. Are you awake yet? I hope you are. They don't want anybody waking up to these things. That was from YouTube itself. Screened out the word Molech. Wow. Unbelievable. Saw it with your own eyes right there. Here in Montana, property taxes keep going up. Rent increases every time this happens. Yes. They're literally pushing people economically out of their homes. That was crazy, you guys. I just saw that live. Wow. They're God. Yep. Now you know. Wow. Again. Look at that. Whoa. Now everybody's going to say it. Mr. E, it went through for Mr. E because he said, hey, Molech. Yes, the Molech is the milk. It's the milk of human sacrifice. I'll explain all that tomorrow. I don't want to get too sidetracked. Yep. All right, you guys, I'm going to pop off of here. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow, same time. Put links to all this in the pinned comment. Take care.